Welcome back to Bowling in the Years. This week's episode is on the year 2006. Just as with every year, we discovered there were lots of things you wanted to talk about, but I suppose every year is a busy year when you have to have a weekly column.
Yeah, absolutely. You could have 52 different episodes.
We honestly could do an episode for every week of a given year. But...
Yeah, absolutely. And somebody asked us to do 2006 and we did. Yeah. So.
Yeah. Well, we love getting the suggestions, and this was an interesting year. I mean, for one thing, we have to start with the King and Queen of the Roads this year.
Yeah.
Because it was kind of a significant year for them.
It was a significant year for the King of the Roads because the Munster final, the Munster Championship wasn't concluded because there was a dispute and it wasn't concluded. And so there was no All-Ireland and it was never played subsequently. But as it happens in the King of the Roads, all the main characters who would have been involved were playing. Mm. And ironically, I suppose, I remember the semi-final more so than the final because John Creedon played Michael Toll in the semi-final, and both of these could have been an All-Ireland final. They could have reached the All-Ireland final. That would have been possible because Michael Toll would have been in it anyway. Yeah. And I think, no, obviously I didn't see all of their scores ever, so it's hard for me to be definitive, but of the times I saw them playing, I think that was John Creedon's best score ever, in my mind. That was the best score he ever played that I saw, personally. And I think for Michael Toll, it ranks up there as really, really great score. And I mentioned some great scores, and he contributed so much to bowling, but there was something incredible about that score. The intensity of it, the standard of bowling, up over the line 14 shots, which is just incredible. And I remember the last shot, I was standing next to John Creedon, and he had thrown his shot, and then Michael Toll was trying to beat the tip. And we could hear the crowd, and when I heard the crowd, I thought from the sound that Michael Toll had missed John Creedon's tip. And I turned to John Creedon and I said, congratulations, well done, what a score. And he said, no, I don't think so. And he was right. Whatever he heard or whatever voices he heard, he knew it wasn't him. But my God, it was just, I suppose, one of those contests where nobody should have won. Yeah. They should have both have won. But they didn't. But obviously, that score took a huge toll on Michael Toll because he was playing Philip O'Donovan the next day. And Philip O'Donovan had won the King of the Roads in 2005 and he won it again in 2006. And that time the King of the Roads played back the road, back towards Ballincurry, because back in the day, historically, all finals were played back into towards Smarts. And it started in a place called Rockabawn, and Rockabawn is called after the Goban Sayer, and it started way out there and it came back towards the village. And I remember well, Philip O'Donovan, he played 6 phenomenal bowls. I think his second or third bowl was a huge, beautifully lofted bowl onto Tots, towards Tots, and he won it, so that was a big win for Philip O'Donovan as well, and a bigger player, maybe historically a bigger player than people maybe always realise. He's a lot of big achievements.
Significant year for the King of the Roads.
Yeah, absolutely. And I remember Paddy Coughlin from Ballineen on the road. Paddy was a great character, and he turned to me and turned to everybody. He let everybody know. He said, well, this is it now. He said, that's the All-Ireland, he said, for 2006. Yeah. So that was, as far as he was concerned, that had decided who was the All-Ireland champion. So in that sense, Philip O'Donovan was kind of an All-Ireland champion.
And what was the story with the Queen of the Roads that year? What do you remember?
The Queen of the Roads, again, I suppose, the person who didn't win it is kind of almost the story of the Queen of the Roads in a way, because that was Louise Collins for me. It was a big year for her. She had beaten Carmel Ryan, who was the All-Ireland champion, in the semi-final, which was played the week beforehand, because I think Carmel was going to a wedding or something like that, and it was played the week beforehand. But Kerstin Friedrichs won it, and she was the second German winner of it. And Kerstin Friedrichs beat Katrina O'Farrell in the semi-final. And I suppose that was a big thing, because Katrina O'Farrell, I think, had
Going for 8 in a row.
Going for 8 in a row, exactly, 8 in a row finals, which was a phenomenal thing. And she lost in the semi-final. And she was the world champion, of course. Katrina O'Farrell was the world champion. And then Kirsten played Louise in the overall final. And you know, at one point Louise was kind of out of contention, but she came back into it towards the end. And you know, she pushed her well, but it was it was a big win for Kirsten as well. You know, coming over to Ireland and winning that was a big achievement for her as well. Yeah.
What do you remember about the senior women's final?
Senior women's was a special senior women's final because it was played between Carmel Ryan and Katrina O'Farrell, and both from Carricktool. They went to school together, sat in the same classroom, and so they also have a big connection with Lisgould, which is the parish that Ballincurrig is in. They both have connections with Lisgould. Not surprisingly, the parishes are next to each other, and I have a lot of connections with Carricktool myself. Carmel's mother is from a town called Ballinakilla, which is in Lisgould parish, so she's from Lisgould parish, and Katrina's grandmother is from Knockahim, which is the next town into my own. And her cousins of the Ryans and the Barrys and all of those in Lisgould. So there was a big buy-in from everybody in Carricktool and everybody in Lisgould, and I suppose everybody was taking sides. And it was a big occasion, but the score itself wasn't that sensation or anything like that. Carmel won it easily. The All-Ireland final in many ways was probably a bigger contest on the Cathedral Road against Devil Toll. And Devil Toll was going for her third All-Ireland in a row. And I think she contested something like 5 All-Irelands in the trot. And Carmel was in charge of that contest up Stars Hill and on over past the coal sheds. And then Devil threw this huge bowl down Brannigan's. And that looked to be turning the score, but Carmel, fair play, Carmel came down and beat the tip. Big, and that's a tough shot. That's a really hard shot because anything can go wrong down there. And then Carmel threw this huge second last bowl right over towards Roundtree's Lane, and it looked over because Dervla was 120 metres behind that, and it looked completely over. And then Dervla came and she played this amazing last bowl. Wow, what a shot! Away down around the corner and away down to Bellahy Lane.
Yeah.
And it's one of those shots that, my God, it's easier to miss it than beat it.
Yeah.
But again, Carmel threw this massive bowl and down and beat it, I think by 11 metres or something. But that was a big win. That was a huge win, and big disappointment for Devla. But and the following year, actually, Kelly Mallon came up, but Devla came back in for 2 more years after that. So she played in 7 All-Ireland finals in 8 years. Big achievement.
It is. 2006 was kind of a breakout year for a couple of players.
Yeah, absolutely. And the intermediate championship threw up two 18-year-old winners. Emma Fitzpatrick, who we mentioned in a previous episode, she won both the intermediate All-Ireland and the under-18 All-Ireland. Yeah. And she beat Jane O'Neill in the under-18 All-Ireland in Armagh. And she beat Denise Daly in Doneraile in the All-Ireland intermediate final. And that was a real contest. You know, it was a big contest for Emma. Like, she was just a young girl, like 18, and I think Denise had played in the previous All-Ireland final as well. And it came down to a last shot, and Emma was high ball for the last shot, as I remember it. And she played a decent enough last shot, but you'd think at the same time Denise was going to beat it, but she didn't. She missed it, and so Emma got her 2 All-Irelands that year. But of course she wasn't the only under 18 or 18-year-old at least to win an All-Ireland that year. A big All-Ireland, because Aiden Murphy won the intermediate All-Ireland, and that was his big breakthrough year, and that was a big achievement for him. And I remember the Munster final very well in Killumpney against Brian O'Donovan, and that was a local derby because Brian O'Donovan is from Jago's Mills, and Aidan is from Temple Martin, and they're both in the Mid Cork region, and it was played there, Testing Road, up the hill. And I remember Aidan threw a massive first shot, and my God, he settled into it, and he was flying, and he looked to be in complete control, and he was in complete control. But just around Blackbird Lane, he got 2 poor shots in a row. And it gave Brian a bit of an opening to get back into it, and he did get back into it in a sense. But I remember Aiden opened light up further on, and he took back control and he won easily enough. And then he went on to the All-Ireland final against Malachy-Lappin, and we also mentioned Malachy-Lappin before. And Malachy-Lappin had won a big Ulster title. He had beaten two players, that he, had done big things at senior level, either before or after, and that was Harry Toll, who was the season campaigner, and the up and coming Brian O'Reilly. So that was a big win for Malachy-Lappin. Yeah. And in the All-Ireland final, I suppose he took the contest to Aiden pretty well as well. But Aiden wasn't well enough in the end, So big win for him, big year for him, big breakthrough. Yeah.
And was there anything else you remember about 2006 you want to talk about?
Yeah, I mean, there's a million and one things, but one of the things that sticks out in my mind very much is we played a round at the John Cronin Cup in Tallow, and we've done the same thing in 2020, it was great because a lot of the old time supporters of the sport in Tallow, which is in West Waterford, right on the borders with Cork, on the River Bride, they came out on the road, and it was good. It was nice to bring the sport to them again, because they hadn't seen bowling in Tallow for a long time. But the other thing that they brought to us, they gave us back the names of all the points on the road. And I remember there's one place, Morahawnies, which this is one of the key points for the people there. And actually, Aiden Murphy played that day. No, it wasn't the final, but against Pat O'Brien Jr. I mentioned Pato in last week's episode. This is Pat O'Brien's Jr., his son, and Pat O'Brien beat him. And as far as I recall, Sean Murphy, Aiden's brother, played back against Liam Barry. Great player, huge player, and he's somebody that we'll be mentioning more in other occasions. But he lives in Tallow, and they played back that day, and Sean Murphy won it. So the Murphys went home with something. Yeah, so that stands out. And the other things, I suppose, that just maybe we don't mention them as much sometimes. And it's hard to mention everything, but the vintage final. Yeah. The vintage was won by Aiden Murphy, which was a big achievement for Aiden, and he comes from a very famous sporting family. He's a brother of Mick, a big champion, and Willie, and Pacho, and also an uncle of the famous Juliet. Yeah. So that was a big year for him. And the other person who was a great and iconic and much beloved figure in bowling, Danjo Holland. He won the veteran final, and he beat Gerald McKee in the All-Ireland, and I think he'd beaten Gerald, 2 years in a row. I think he'd beaten him the year before as well. And in the Munster final, he played an equally iconic figure, Dennis Hickey, a very famous bowler and a musician and a great character in the sport. So so those things kind of stick out in my mind from that year. Yeah. And in the vintage final, actually, Willie Dennis was the person that Tay beat. Yeah. And Willie Dennis is a really famous person in East Cork. Great player, a super player. Like, what a player Willie Dennis was, And I remember, I didn't see him in his heyday, but what a stylist, a beautiful player. And he was chairperson of East Cork for years upon years, and contributed so much to the sport, at every level. So, yeah.
So just like with every year, we found a lot of really memorable moments in 2006.
Yeah,
I think it's safe to say.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've left out 90% of the things.
Well, as we have to every week, I'm afraid.
Yeah, unfortunately. Yeah.
But genuinely, if there's anything that happened to you in 2006 that you recall, any bowling moment that you feel that we ought to have covered, do let us know, because we're always willing to do an update video if that happens.
Yeah, absolutely.
We really appreciate all the support that the channel is getting. Kind of overwhelmed by the number of subscribers and viewers and comments and likes that we've been getting.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So it's been great.
It has been great. And thank you so much for watching, and we hope that you continue to watch.
Thank you.